Hi guys, Toge here with a new video, and this video will be a class recommendation video for Soul Shuffle in the War Within. We are in the mid-season, we have a few patches, and I want to talk about Soul Shuffle because it still is the game mode that is probably the most scared by everyone. I think Battleground Blitz is fun to a certain extent. I sometimes don't have fun because I think it's very spec and class dependent and map dependent, and sometimes you're playing a spec which doesn't really create fun in BGB. But let's talk about Soul Shuffle. I still have a lot of questions from people, but also in general what they want to main in Soul Shuffle or like in threes as well, which can also be very well translated. And I hope with this video you can have a bit more insight about which specs should be going better for you in Soul Shuffle. Big disclaimer, I'm going to say that mostly if you want to have fun, even though you would think it is not the case, it would be with a caster. I think a caster spec, if you're truly maining it and you become way better at it, it becomes way more fun and way more. It makes more sense in Soul Shuffle. I feel like with a melee, you're very much dependent on how the lobby resembles, and you are a bit. How can I say? You are a bit the victim of the lobby. I don't know how you can actually translate it. Like you don't have enough CC. Like for example, a warrior doesn't have enough CC to win the game just by CCing. A warlock or a mage to maybe a lesser extent, but like a warlock or a bounce druid or a shaman, like elemental shaman, or maybe also a frost mage, you can win basically by displacing the enemy, by doing a lot of CC and actually dictating where the enemy goes, because you are the target most likely. If you're like the only caster in the lobby, you can 100% be sure that you are the target. And if you're not targeted, then it's the best feeling ever. And what I find fun is that I find solace in the misery I can feel as a caster by being the target every single time. Is that I can actually drag the people that are focusing me behind the pillar, or I like make the healer move every single time to try to save their melees that are like headless chicken, or you can actually apply enough CC to just win because the healer is not able to be healing the allies from the healer, for example, the enemies. So that's something I will say to everyone, that if you haven't played a caster and you are wanting to learn how to play the game properly and to win games because of tactical advantages, I do feel like casters can actually give you that and give you a lot of incentives to that. Now you're going to ask me like which caster actually can give you that and which caster I could recommend, but also which melees. Like for example, for someone that really doesn't want to play a caster, they want to play a melee. Which melee? And for people that want to play a healer, which healer I could recommend the most? So I think in this video I would recommend around 5 or 6 specs classes and maybe 2 melees, 2 classes, and 2 healers, with maybe a bit of a honorable mention. But I think in general, it will always be play what you like, and you will become way better at it. Now, let's talk about melees first. I think let's talk melees first. For solo shuffle, I cannot recommend warrior. I think warrior is just like a very silly class to play in solo shuffle. It's very dependent on your teammates. You don't have a lot of say in the games except PVing down, because that's pretty much how warriors function. It's like you're trying to target a target as much as you can, and you're trying to run at him and try to put him down, pretty much. It's not like you're going to CC the healer most likely, because you want to stormbolt the kill target. That's how it should be, except if you're playing like with a sub rogue or whatever, then you have to hold off your stun. But most likely you're going to stun your main target, and if you're playing with a Retribution Paladin in that lobby, for example, the red is going to hush the healer. Your fear, most likely you're going to use it at the start of the lobby, or you're going to use it defensively whenever someone is bursting fear, and he has to trinket because there is nothing you cannot dispel a warrior fear, or you can maybe bop it, but I don't see people like pop a fear. So warrior is just like a bit miserable to that. I'm like someone that used to play a lot of warrior, and these days I just kind of stopped it because I didn't think it's that good. Or at least I didn't think I had like a lot of fun with it. If it was like Fury or Arms, I just don't enjoy that much, especially with current meta where I feel it's a caster meta. I don't really have a lot of fun as a warrior. But if I want to recommend a true melee, like you can be compared to a Fury warrior, it would be a windwalker monk. I already said that on my previous video where I recommended specs, but it was a bit more broad, like for all PvP. I think Windwalker is really strong at that. Like, you can actually be good in melee lobbies, and you can be very decent in cast lobbies. You're also very disruptive. You have like a rising dragon kick. I don't know how it's called. Whirling dragon punch, where literally you're putting people in the air. So it's a micro CC, which is probably the most annoying part of Windwalkers these days. You have Fist of Fury, which is parrying every melee strike, except like things that are not parryable. You have literally a leg sweep, which is the best version of stuns that you can have if you're like able to do like a triple stun. You have paralysis, which is not the best CC, but it is a good micro CC that you can use on the casters, or you can use it on the healer, and for that little moment you could maybe win the game. You have also Ring of Peace, which again, the displacement is very strong, especially on certain maps, but also especially versus a certain like group of casters or melees that are very annoyed by getting pushed away while you're like while they're bursting. I feel like their damage is very good. It is a bit backwards though, because your Fist of Fury and your Blackout, like your Rising Sun Kick and your Fist of Fury, is not doing too much damage. Like, it's Blackout Kick that is doing the most damage, and the Whirling Dragon Punch, and the other one, the Whirling Kicks, I don't know how it's called. And those are doing the most damage. And then you have your Celestial, Conduit of the Celestials, that is also doing some good damage as well. So it's a bit backwards compared to the other expansions, but this iteration is probably the better one to play because you are actually playing the game. You're not running away every single time until you have CDs. Here you could actually like eliminate people without relying too much on CDs. I do feel like it's a great alternative to Warrior, so if you want to main like a melee that is, you could see it as a Zug. For me, it is not really Zug, but like I expect that you can really like play melee without like feeling like you have to play a cast. I think Windwalker is one of them. Now, the other suggestion which I would do normally is a unholy Decay, for example. The issue is right now it is currently undertuned. I don't know if it's undertuned, but it feels like right now it is very normal. And I think their spec and how it functions and the talent trees, it actually wants to be stronger than normal to be actually performing. That's how I feel it. But normally, if balancing is correct, Unholy Decay is one of the best recommendations you can do to anyone. It has a Strangulate, which is a silence which is super strong in PvP. You can silence the healer, and he is like powerless for a lot of seconds, which are enough to probably like score a kill. You have a lot of pad damage. You have actually a good burst rotation. You have also not that complicated of a burst rotation as well. I think it has also like a lot of micro CCs. It has blind, it has grips. You can regrip. You have abomination limp. You have a lot of stuff. If you are also very good and you're smart, you put your pet also, your pet kick or your pet stun at least on a keybind, so you can also control it. I think it's one of the best specs that I would recommend normally to play in Soul Shuffle. Now, you always hear me normally, right? Right now it is undertuned. You might struggle. Again, I think as in Holy Decay you have a lot of agency with your CC, but sometimes it is not enough, and you are actually very, very squishy. Yeah, they nerfed multiple times on multiple aspects of unholy decay, and that is one thing that you should always like look if you're like trying to roll a spec. Also, I think like decays, they might become better at season 2. Also, frost decay, but that will be like depending the force set, depending on whether or not they're going to balance it around or whatever. But right now I would only recommend windwalker, and the second recommendation, meaty wise, would then be retribution paladin. And you're going to call me crazy, which is fine. I understand that and I accept that as well. I think current Retribution Paladin, although I don't find it very fun, because this is not a fun tier list. This is like, no, not a tier list, but this is not a fun video. This is like, who am I recommending to play Soul Shuffle with like meaties. I would say Retribution Paladin is one of the best meaties to actually recommend, because you have Bob, you have Bubble, you have also like the Spellcaster Bob version, which is, I don't know how it's called anymore. You have Hoj, which is very strong if you're actually able to stun the healer. You have Repentance, which again, kicking a red kind of sucks, especially in a lobby where you have a caster in the game. You can also like instant blinding light, which is also quite strong. You can play Templar right now, so you have like a great burst every 30 seconds, and it is actually noticeable and does really well. And I think personally, with Shield of Vengeance, you're actually kind of tanky, and even then, whenever you're not tanky, you have a lot of like oh damn buttons. Whenever you're going to press something, it's going to help you a lot with surviving. I think the damage is quite simple. It kind of sucks that right now Final Verdict just does no damage, but I don't know if they're going to keep it like this or if they're going to actually change that. But in general, if you want to like play a melee and you want to be successful, I think Windwalker and Retribution Paladin are both actually great pickups. Now, is Retribution Paladin very meta? I don't think so. I think it's okay. I think it could be meta depending on the lobbies, but I think it's okay, which is not bad. You want to have like okay specs. It's going to get eventually buffed or better whenever like the meta specs are going to get nerfed. You have range, you have everything, to be fair. So I think Retribution Paladin is a safer pick than, let's say, a Warrior or a DK right now, or even Demon Hunter. Casted ones. Now, which casters am I going to recommend you guys to play and to enjoy your time? You're going to probably think I'm going to recommend a Beast Mastery Hunter, which you're probably right. And it is also my first recommendation if you want to play ranged and you want to be very obnoxious and you want to be playing a spec that is generally good in PvP, and if not, you have MM. I think BM Hunter is one of them that can actually give you that little advantage to play Soul Shuffle. You are a great anti-meta as well. A lot of casters that are actually good are very bad versus BM Hunter. Like even Demonology Warlock, like something that I already made a guide yesterday. They really suck at versus BM Hunter, because it feels bad to deal damage to a spec that can root your pets, can run away from your pets, can deal most of their damage instantly without any problems, compared to you, where you are actually someone that is very much casting every single global. I do feel like right now, if you want to play ranged and you don't know where to begin, I think the best beginning that you can give yourself to do something like that would be BM Hunter. I think BM Hunter is really flexible, very mobile. It goes well with any comp pretty much, and I think right now it is also a great pickup. Now, is it going to stay that strong? That's another problem. But I think in general, you're going to enjoy your time as a hunter if it's PM or MM. Now, another spec or class that I would recommend you guys to play in solo shuffle, if you want to improve or if you want to like climb without like a problem or whatnot, I would definitely recommend right now at least Warlock. You could also say SP, but I think Shadow Priest is a good honorable mention. A lot of people are like very frustrated though whenever they're playing it. Well, to be fair, it is misplaced. I think a lot of like shadow priests are thinking themselves lower than they are, but they are actually very decent and very strong. Good CC, good damage. Just a lot of casting, a lot of immobile moments, so that's not always fun for most majority of players. But Warlock has more mobility, has great damage if you're playing like affliction Warlock or demonology Warlock or even destruction Warlock. You have great CC as well, and I do believe it is one of the best classes to play if you want to play ranged, because you have 3 specs, which generally speaking you have at least one that is very meta and the other ones are like just behind. I play Warlock and I really enjoy it. That's how I started YouTube in Shadowlands as well. Like I played Warlock, I made a guide about it with a silly thumbnail. Like right now it's a bit better, but before we had like worse thumbnails. And I do feel like Warlock is really my like a fan favorite class. I think they did a good job with the War Within. Kind of sucks for Diabolisted though, because I feel like it's nerfed in PvP, but in general the design is there. So I do like Warlock, and I do enjoy my time. And even in social, I think the CC with like a good focus macro, Fear for example, or Mortal Coil, or a good silence, which is always going to be very welcome. I do feel like you can have a lot of fun with this class slash spec. Now, healer wise, which one am I going to recommend? I would say that it depends if you're like a veteran healer or if you're like a very new one. I'm going to give you one veteran healer that you should play that and just enjoy and climb. And the second one would be the new healers, like people that are like me, that are not really familiar with healing and they are like more a DPS, but they want to heal sometimes to have faster queues, or to be able to play with your friends, or to be able to be playing with people and having fast groups. I think I have like 2 suggestions for you guys. I would say if you're like a very experienced healer, I would say that Disc Priest is probably the best you can do right now and play with it right now to have the most results. I think Disc Priest is fantastic at that, does a lot of damage, does a lot of utility as well. It has a second spec like Holy Priest, which is accessible as well, but it's kind of hard for them to play like both specs efficiently, depending on if you're playing 2s or 3s or social form. But in general, if you're playing just Disc Priest, you can like improve very fast, but also you're going to feel like you're going to do more than just healing. You're going to deal damage, you're going to like CC people, you're going to have obviously the great heals as a Disc Priest. So I think in general it's a good pickup. And then as a last healer that I would recommend to play in Soul Shuffle, and that's for the enjoyment part, I do feel like you could enjoy mistweaver by a lot. You would think Holy Paladin, which is a honorable mention. I think it's a great, fast, and easy healer as well. But I think for the people that do look for a challenge and do look for, I would say, build possibilities, I think Mistweaver is one of the best. Like you can play a full caster Mistweaver, you can play like a hybrid Mistweaver where you can also do your kicks, but you can also heal with Vivify and Soothing Mist and whatnot. Or you can play like a full physical build where you don't care, you just are going to be the strongest possible and try to do your kicks, trying to do your fist weaving, and be able to heal through your damage, which is cool. And that is maybe the intrigue whenever you're going to play Mistweaver, like knowing which build you're going to play. Fortunately, normally you're going to play the same stats, so that's a good thing. But keep on trying Mistweaver. I think you can have a lot of depth towards it, but I think as an entry healer, it's one of the best. I think it's one of the easiest as well. Like maybe on the same level as a Holy Paladin. So hopefully you do give it a chance. So those are my suggestions. If I didn't name your class or the classes that you would like to play, then just play those classes. But again, I think all classes have a place in the meta, has somewhat fun and design that are great, at least a vast majority. So just play what you like, try to play and improve, and hopefully you're going to realize that the War Within is actually a great expansion. I think they just are a bit random here and there with how they are going to balance the game and whatnot. But I think it's bound to happen with that many specs, that many classes, balancing here and there, that you're going to have some outliers. Again, thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye.